If you're a fan of massively multiplayer online role-playing games, you've probably heard of RuneScape. If you were gaming on a low-end PC during RuneScape's turn-of-the-century heyday, you might have even played it, especially if you didn't want to pony up for a World of Warcraft subscription. Despite surviving for around 2 decades and hosting hundreds of millions of players, the homespun MMO still doesn't get the same respect as its bigger-budget peers. RuneScape might look rough, but it's got a long history that's just as big, complicated, and interesting as anything else in the genre. Here's the story of how RuneScape came to be. All in the family. RuneScape started small, really small. In the beginning, the game was developed by just one person, Andrew Gower, a college student with a knack for programming. RuneScape wasn't the first game Andrew ever designed. As a teenager, he cut his teeth recreating games that he wanted to play but couldn't afford, and later helped pay his way through school by making small games for 90s.com companies.
Most of them were my own takes on things that I either couldn't afford initially or which hadn't been ported to the Atari ST later, but I always tried to put my own spin on things.
Andrew was a fan of MUDs, or MUDs, which are basically simplistic, often text-based online multiplayer games that served as proto-MMOs. Andrew decided to make one of his own. His first pass, called Devious Mud, was online for only a week before Andrew took it down and started retooling it. He enlisted the help of his brother Paul to design and write quests for the evolving game. Ian, a third Gower brother, was brought in to produce visual elements like sprites, models, and the game's logo.
All of our friends were sort of joking around, they kept calling it RuneScape. So at that point, I split the line of stones in two and put the sword through the middle.
Even the boy's mother, a recently retired school teacher, joined in on the graphical design, creating the game's camel, bear, spider, and bat models. The all-in-the-family element didn't stop there. When Andrew and Paul founded Jagex, the company that runs RuneScape to this day, the game's servers originally ran out of a bedroom. For office space, the boys put up a sheet and took over one half of their parents' kitchen. As a result, the developers had the unique opportunity to casually record audio of their mother sizzling up some bacon and put the file in the game as a sound effect.
The sound of cooking in RuneScape Classic is the sound of my mum frying some bacon.
World record. RuneScape didn't stay small for long. Part of this had to do with the unique qualities that set it apart from EverQuest or Ultima Online. RuneScape could be played in a web browser, making it easy to jump into on a whim without an installation disk. While other games charged a monthly subscription fee, RuneScape was free, and it still is. While Jagex later added a subscription option to the game that provides extra content, it's not necessary to spend money to enjoy the game. Those factors, plus RuneScape's unique world, were enough to get the game off to a strong start. While only 20 people were reported to have played Devious Mud, 5,000 players signed up for RuneScape in its first week. 2 years after launch, nearly 750,000 people had explored a little bit of Gailanor, and the game just kept on growing. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, RuneScape has had more players than any other MMORPG ever made, with over 240 million player accounts being created since the game's launch. That's not the only record that RuneScape holds either. As of July 2013, fans had spent more time in RuneScape than any other game, playing for a combined total of 443 billion minutes. RuneScape has also received more updates than any other MMO, some small ones that just fix bugs, and some like the Evolution of Combat update, which completely overhauled the game's fighting system. Overall, the game has received over 1,000 updates, which isn't too surprising considering how much has changed in technology since 2001. Pseudo-sequels. While RuneScape has been running continuously since 2001, a couple of updates have essentially been the start of whole new games. The current version of RuneScape is actually RuneScape 3, or maybe even RuneScape 4, depending on what you count as a sequel. RuneScape's first major update, dubbed RuneScape 2, started production promptly in 2002, launching in 2004 after a 3-month beta test. An entirely new engine laid the groundwork for improvements like more detailed graphics, a revamped combat system, improved sound, and much more. The elaborate update took the place of the original. The only thing that didn't change were player stats. Despite RuneScape 2 being new, Jagex decided to preserve players' progress. Destiny, this is not. RuneScape 3 arrived in 2013, a full 9 years after its predecessor, and brought with it better music, a streamlined user interface, and voice acting. However, RuneScape 3's signature feature, an HTML5-based game client, never made it out of beta. While the HTML5 version of RuneScape was supposed to make the game more accessible than ever, it was too slow to run the game properly. Jagex killed the project and started working on a new client programmed in C++. Jagex released that client, dubbed RuneScape NXT, in 2016. If you log in today, that's the version of the game that you'll be playing. The past lives on. RuneScape might be constantly changing, but Jagex never forgets its roots. If you want to play an older version of its signature game, you can. Old School RuneScape, which has been running since 2013, returns players to the halcyon days of 2007, when the graphics were rougher and the game was much simpler. Don't log into Old School RuneScape and expect everything to be exactly the same, however. Like the main RuneScape game, Old School RuneScape receives regular updates, but Jagex doesn't make changes on a whim. Every time that the developer comes up with a new feature or piece of content, they put up a poll on the Old School RuneScape website. If 75% of the community approves the change, it goes in the game. If not, it's thrown out. It's a popular system. In fact, these days, Old School RuneScape often has more players than the main game. Thanks to the game's mobile client, expect that to continue. If your nostalgia stretches all the way back to the very first version of RuneScape, Jagex has an option for you too. Or at least it used to. When RuneScape 2 launched, Jagex preserved the original game under the name RuneScape Classic, although only people who'd played the original RuneScape for real back in the day could log in. Eventually, most of those players faded away. With the dwindling population and cheaters running rampant, RuneScape Classic became more trouble than it was worth. As a result, Jagex made the decision to retire the servers for good on August 6, 2018, over 17 years after the game first launched. Despite this, the main game and its many spin-offs still live on, letting whole new generations discover the free-to-play pleasures of a truly original game.